Welcome to another episode of HUBtalk. We are going to be discussing today about the future of architecture, how it would be and how it is to evolve with technology coming in as well.
Here we go.
So today here we have Manjula Wijeyeratne, a well-known architect in Sri Lanka who has done some major projects in the country. So Manjula, why don't you start off by giving us an introduction to yourself and sort of the work that you have been, the amazing work that you have been doing so far.
Thank you. It's nice. It's going to be a pleasure to be with you all today. And so my business partner Deepika and myself, we started a small partnership in the mid 1990s, and then it evolved because we were doing like boutique work, and then we evolved to be a fully fledged practice. So we incorporated the company in the year 2000, and to date we've done quite a lot of work which are noteworthy and in some areas recognized.
Would you like
So
to
we
name
have-
some of the few of the great work that you've done as well?
Yes, of course. So we've done a few hotels. I think Ari Lagoon is done by me. My business partner has done a lot of work with Cinnamon Grand. So most of the restaurants you all go to, from the chutneys to this lagoon to all that, is done by her. So we've done that. Then we have done schools for like 3,000 kids in the Hambantota area, doing for tsunami times. We have done other restaurants. Then of course we've done some boutique villas, heaps of houses, very nice houses where the clients enjoying their lives and they're actually progressing as a family and bonding there. So that's where the architecture comes in from. We've also done like commercial work. The last of it has been a small factory on the industrial side. Yeah. So that's the kind of work. So also we've done nothing is too small for us. So we do a lot of small work and nothing, well, so to say the biggest we've been involved is like a 200-room hotel in the south. So working with international clients and doing collaborative work. So it's been a good 20 odd years for us.
Right, that's amazing to hear, Manjula, about the great work that you've done. I personally
Thank you.
seen many of them as well, and the impression and then the so I mean the experience that you give, that I've seen in most of these projects, is just amazing, right? So especially today speaking, Manjula, I wanted to speak with you with regard. I mean, technology is forever evolving everything, right? All the industries are completely being disrupted and then being changed by technology, right? So I'm sure I have read up and seen many things as well, right? And I'm sure it's the same with architecture also, right? So I want to actually hear from your view, right, in terms of how you think that technology is evolving architecture.
Technology is a hugely advantageous tool for us. It's somewhere around July, August that AutoCAD was born 40 years ago. It's exactly 40 years old. That was one of the first ever tools to come for us to do what we call flat CAD, as in two-dimensional drafting. The old school drafting, which is drawn on paper, then it became the computer in your language, it's that little small computer screen, the green screen,
Right.
That machine started doing, and then soon after came the multicolored screens, and AutoCAD worked. So today, AutoCAD gives us three-dimensional, and AutoCAD, the company, has moved into various others, which is BIM, Building Information Management Systems, and that software, which basically facilitates the architect to give the product information, the building information in just in a small data slip, right? So that is one side of it. The other technology is independent three-dimensional software tools, which we use to communicate what's in our head to our client so that they understand what we talk about space, light, experiencing. End of the day, what we give the client is an experience on how the building works for their business or home or industry, whatever the building needs. So how it works, how we understand the client wants, and how we put it as a building. Now, when you put it as a building on paper, the client doesn't understand. Here comes a 3D tool, which actually lets them walk through, right? And that is one of the best things that we. Then came, of course, the construction methodologies, which became three-dimensional, and now you have 3D printing. And
that's something like, quite interesting that I've seen. Like, you 3D model it straight away, right? And then the building, and you press print, and it just starts printing on its own, right? So like that's some amazing technology that I think like construction is going to be absolutely transformed through this as well. Yeah.
So you must have seen 3D printing at a model scale. So that's probably either foam-based or PVC-based material, and it actually prints a scaled model so that the client and whoever the architects and consultants understand.
Yeah.
It's gone beyond that, where the 3D printing does print the building. And today I was watching this particular machine pose concrete out of a 3D printer. So it's actually building the building. In concrete. So it actually, you can see the concrete nozzle going like, that kind of thing.
I've actually seen this. So then, like, how does this work, Manjula? Is it that like you need to create a structure like that separately for different sizes of buildings, or like how does that work?
Yeah, it's complicated. So what it does, where it starts from is your building is drawn probably flat CAD, two-dimensional at the beginning. Then we develop it to three-dimensional. Then we standardize it, saying wall panel X, wall panel B, so that it becomes prefabricated. So the first generation 3D printed buildings were what is called prefabricated. So it's built in components in a yard, brought to site, assembled in 3-4 days or a week or something like that, right? But it's evolved now to do what is called wet works. Sri Lanka works, for you to understand wet works versus dry works, the Western world works mostly with dry. It's plasterboard, steel framed, metal or timber framework. The plasterboard comes, just nail, wallpaper. And we work with wet works, which is you get the mason, cement, one brick, next brick, concrete slab. It's all wet. It's like wet cement mortar, wet concrete, that. So it's more time taking. So the 3D construction, 3D printed construction has moved on to continue to get into the wet works, which is the difficult one, where it actually molds out of concrete. So it's good, which gives us the flexibility to do a standard building or even a parametric building. Parametric buildings are the ones which have like an amoeba, multiple shapes and curves and stuff like that. Like the bird cage in the Chinese Olympics, right? So that kind of buildings which are formless or shapeless, so to say. So very good stuff. So it probably has limitations. Like you probably can't do with timber and 3D printing. So it might go into synthetic material. Then it might lead to environmental questions. But let's go on to that as we go along the conversation.
Right, right. So another very interesting thing that I saw was, Manjula, this like Saudi Arabia has come up with this concept called the line, right? So which is some 170 kilometers or so, like, you know, the length of a, like, you know, building, right? So, and like the complete lifestyle and the livelihood, everything is there in a sort of a vertical manner. I did not understand the exact, like, you know, architectural thinking behind it, but I just saw it to be very fancy and like, you know, quite sort of like sci-fi kind of a level, right? So I want to hear from your side, Manjula, like, you know, how should the, like, say, architectural mindset should evolve, like, you know, in terms of concepts like this that are coming in as well. How should the mindset evolve of an architect to embrace this kind of technology and, like, you know, futuristic thinking coming into this industry?
So it's a concept that has been there for a while. The idea is to stop urban sprawl. To go back, the urban sprawl has a huge cost on the government to supply utilities, whether it be supply water, electricity, or to do your drainage systems and whatever. Because the more the city sprawls, the more plumbing that has to go for wiring, electricity supply. The more concentrated it is, the less burden on the on the government, and therefore the taxpayer, to supply that same volume of electricity. So coming from that, a while ago, long while ago, Le Corbusier came up with a small concept in France, in Marseille, I think, where he did this building called Unity Habitation, in where he had the shop, the supermarket, the schools, the housing, the office, the workplace, all in one building. That was a small building. So man does not have to travel so many 100 kilometers or whatever to work, or to take his child to that school or to the shop. It's all within your thing. If you go back to your 200 years or 300 years, in your village, you just walk up to your shop and come, or you just walk up to your well and bring your water and come. So it's that germ that it comes. And then comes the architecture of it. How do you put it to a city? And the city therefore becomes smaller, probably taller. Now, our problem there is, how does one give you the ambience of a village or a self-contained house to be in this tower? You know, they're horrible little buildings, right? So how do you go? That's where that visionary architecture comes. How to make it green, how to make it green in terms of this green, how to make it green in terms of technology of the environmental sciences, how to give you the whole supply. And that's where the technology comes in, the softwares and the hardwares, and how does one give you that. And to answer your question of the mindset change, that biggest problem is not actually from me, but from you, the end user. Are you willing to go from your house and garden field with your expert plot of land? Are you willing to go into this urban high-rise? In which, what do you want in this high-rise for you to have that same ambience? Now, say that mindset happened. You went in there. What it does to your country is huge. It's immeasurable. The ozone layer or the impact on the environment is so minimal when it's a smaller footprint building, right? As against an urban sprawl that has gone, let's take Colombo for example, from Marine Drive going beyond Kottawa in one aspect, or Panadura in somewhere that side, or Nigambo on the other. All that has been brought to a building which is probably half a kilometer wide, 24 floors tall, going probably 30 kilometers long. The rest is going to be forest. You don't have to go to Yala now to watch leopards. You can do it in probably Vellavata, because, and it, in the flip side, you are going back to that huge. So that environment, the concept and the minds change. So it's a tough thing, because how do we change general public's mindset? This is the way forward. Now, I know it is the way forward. I am actually way for it, for this kind of building. It's very difficult to get most clients to understand that this is. Now, here the question comes, luxury versus semi-luxury versus, right? There the problem is now 90% of the population or a general person, a luxury is a pretty looking tile, a pretty looking wall and something. For me, luxury is a cross air ventilation, a nicer height than this ceiling, more space in the building. To me, a pretty looking floor, or a pretty looking wall, or a pretty looking chair is not luxury. So there is more. So now we have to give you that. So as in the general public, we have to give them that as well as this, so that eventually they understand by their experience, their own experience, that this building called the Line is the way forward for planet Earth. So it's a tough one, but in my personal opinion, that is the way forward for the world. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, most definitely, Manjula. My final question that I have for you is, with this whole evolvement that's happening, right? Would, say, couple of maybe decades ahead or years ahead, we never know, right? Would actually tech replace an architect? Is that possible?
With AI, I wouldn't know. Without AI, in my humble opinion, I think no. Where the question, the why I'm saying no is because in architecture, the first thought is the creative one. Now that thought, I don't know whether software can give you or tech can give. With AI development, I have an odd feeling it may come. But then the AI has to be so very well developed that it has to be like this fantastic architect who generates that real in general concept where people do hundreds of housing developments, yes, tech will overtake, because that's run of the mill, so to say, straightforward design generations. Can AI come up with a concept like Altair? Can AI come up with a building like the Burj Khalifa? I don't know. That one is that particular situation is, or that particular point is the one that I'm not too sure whether tech can bring. So until then, I think it's no, because it's in here, right? It's that creativity that comes from in here. It's intuition. So for how we work, how I work, is the context gives me the solution for a place. Now, a general software cannot do that. So that's the creativity, the intuition that comes from within me. The day that AI can do that, appreciate me. I'll be dead and gone.
Right, Manjula. Thank you so much for your time. I think like we got a very good insight in terms of how architecture would evolve. So thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you too. It was
Thank you very much.
fantastic having that.
Thank you.
So much.